Greetings, SOSW viewers. It is Jedi Knight Luke here with
Captain Henson.
And we are finally wrapping up Bad Batch Season 3 and Bad Batch as a whole once and for all with episodes 13, 14 and 15 of this final season. Are you ready, Henson?
Of course.
Without any further ado, let's begin. Episode 13, Into the Breach. This episode begins in the Tantis Vaults, where Omega begins to bond with the other children. The brothers reconnect with Echo, and Rampart tells them they need to get to Orbital Station 003, which is just beyond Coruscant's orbit. They set off for the capital. Back on Tantis, Emery extracts another blood sample from Omega. Omega gathers what intel she can from the other children about the security and tells the others how she can free them. She reveals to them she has a little pincer, which she snuck from Emery, that can grant access to the tunnels within the walls. Back with the brothers, they and Rampart dock at Orbit Station 003 with a stolen shuttle. They get to the station manifest and find a ship on the readings departing for Tantis. Back in the Tantis vault, Omega makes an opening in one of the walls, which is the way out. Meanwhile, Echo is sneaking around on Station 003 and disables the proximity sensors of the departing vessel. Just in the nick of time, the brothers magnetize their stolen ship to the hull of this Imperial science vessel, and they're heading to Tantis, thus ending the episode.
So it was great to see Omega really going at it on her own, trying to figure things out, asking the other kids what the hell's going on. And then, of course, we'll see that built off of in the next episode. And once again, we see the Bad Batch breaking into a military facility to once again find the coordinates to Tantis. Now, although, one could look at this as a sort of repeat of the last episode, but I do think there are enough differences here, especially in regards to how the characters are going through this facility and the actual plan. Once again, we see the characters take a gamble, in this case, Echo sneaking aboard a ship that's heading to Tantis to give to the Bad Batch, and if he fails to deliver the coordinates in time, again, they lose their chance, but with this, the gamble does in fact pay off. So, yeah, not much else to say here, but we're finally getting to the end game.
Indeed. I really enjoyed this episode. It was great to see all of Omega's training from her brothers pay off in terms of being an independent soldier and beginning to take the ropes on the escape that she and the other children are about to embark on. And considering that the Bad Batch took the gambles that they did on Pabu, which failed, it was nice, I think, that the gamble paid off this time round. And I think credit to the writers as well for being aware that the show should get to the point and not drag this out any longer. And this Bad Batch episode did something that other Star Wars media of recent years has failed at, and that's effectively incorporating humour into an otherwise serious situation. As of more recent Star Wars projects, attempts at humour in trying situations don't always land, but it does in this case. On the stolen shuttle, Echo finds a Imperial captain's uniform, and he gives it to Rampart, and he says, "I can't wear this. This is a captain's uniform. I was a vice admiral." And the Hunter goes, "You were an Imperial before. Impersonating one should be easy enough." And when Rampart says, I was a Vice Admiral, Echo looks at Rampart and says, well, now you've been demoted. And Rampart goes, ugh, I hate clones. That was genuinely funny.
Yes, I do believe it stems from the fact that it is the characters just being themselves. And thankfully, Bad Batch knows how to write these characters, how for them to react to ways that make sense for those characters. And it is through that the comedy comes from.
Shall we head on?
Yes.
Okay then, ramping things up a notch now with episode 14, Flash Strike. The episode begins with the brothers in hyperspace en route to Tantis. Back on Tantis, Scorch reports the previous episode's Station 003 disturbance to Hemlock, and fighters engage the brothers in the atmosphere. The children overhear the air battle, and Omega knows that it's the brothers. The brothers use rappel cables in their shot-down vessel to soften the landing. The brothers reunite very quickly afterwards and head for the base. Echo disguises himself as a stormtrooper and gets into the base. Omega tells the other children to cover her as she breaks down the wall, which leads to her climbing a shaft. Back in the jungle, Rampart accidentally wakes up the resident tiger, leaving the brothers open to attack, and he runs away, only to be very quickly found by 3 stormtroopers on patrol. Back in the vault, the children are having their vitals taken, and Omega finds the Zillo beast being experimented on. Echo hacks into the blood sample records, and Emery recognizes him due to seeing the stubbed hand. They form an alliance to free Omega, and Omega alludes to the other children about the Zillo beast and her plan, ending the episode.
Oh, you can very much feel the penultimate nature of this episode. Finally, our cast of characters are on the planet, ready to rescue Omega and everyone else. We see a lot of things really coming to a close here. Emery seeing Echo and then striking an alliance of sorts. We see the Zillo Beast once again, and oh, what do you know? Turns out the Zillo Beast in season 2 was set up for the finale. Again, I like that we see Omega taking initiative. She's been with the Bad Batch long enough to have picked up a lot of skills, and honestly, I did feel the tension whenever she would sneak within the walls and almost be caught. And also our Bad Batch members needing to fight off creatures of the planet. Solid episode. One more episode to go.
Indeed, this episode was great. Seeing the brothers work together as usual to fight against the Imperials on the jungle, Rampart getting targeted by the tiger, that was funny. And to see Omega's plan with the children in terms of how they're going to escape finally come to fruition, and also experiencing her surprise at seeing the Zillo beast was very cool indeed. And the wheels are turning, and oh boy, what a finale Flash Strike leads to. So, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. The final ever Bad Batch episode, Season 3, Episode 15, The Cavalry Has Arrived. Following on from the last episode, we find out Wrecker injured himself quite badly following a tussle with Tantis' jungle tiger. However, the brothers are only 5 clicks away from the base. Rampart is lectured by Hemlock, and he's right across from Nala Se. Emery tells Echo she wants to do the right thing, and the children commence their escape plan. They reprogram the vital droid, and it stuns Dr. Skolder. The children get through the shaft, while the brothers advance to the base. Emery and Echo get to the vault, while Omega sets the Zillo beast free. It begins causing havoc in the containment level. Echo realizes what Omega did, and he and Emery head out. The beast climbs up and breaks out of the base, and the children make their climb. Hemlock orders that shuttles be sent for the Zillow, and he sets several assassins free. The brothers were pinned down by the assassins as the children make it out. Emery takes the other children away, while Omega and Echo go back for the others. Hemlock attempts to turn the brothers into operatives with the brainwashing. However, he's ordered to speak to Tarkin. Omega and Echo begin freeing the other clone brothers, and they join the fight. Tarkin hears of the attack on Tantis base and warns Hemlock he will arrive soon. Blaster fire erupts in the corridors while Nala Se sneaks out and Rampart interrogates her on Project Necromancer. Omega tries to free the Bad Batch, but the other clones are incapacitated with knockout gas. Rampart tries to steal Nala Se's research and kills her, but not before she primed a thermal detonator, killing him in turn. The central lab is also destroyed as a result. The Bad Batch break free and fight through the guard. Wrecker and Echo stay behind, while Hunter and Crosshair chase down Hemlock to get Omega back. The brothers kill Scorch, and they're at an impasse with Hemlock for Omega's sake. It all comes down to Omega punching Hemlock, freeing herself from his grasp, which gave Crosshair the necessary opening to sever the binders with a perfect sniper shot, and the brothers land a few shots on Hemlock, and he falls a long way down. Omega embraces her brothers on the walkway, and the heroes finally make it off of Tantis. The next day, Tarkin arrives on Tantis, after the officer confirms that Hemlock's research was unsalvageable. Tarkin orders that all of Project Necromancer's funds be redirected to Project Stardust. Back on Pabu, all is well. Everyone is safe. Echo and Emery depart for Pantora to help their rescued clone brothers settle. Hunter tells Omega that they will look after the children until they reunite with their families, and they can finally live their own lives. Many years later, we see Hunter and Omega have one final conversation. She wants to join the Rebel Alliance as a pilot. However, after all they've been through, Hunter is finding it tough to see Omega leave. Omega tells Hunter this is her choice and asks him to keep an eye on Crosshair, Wrecker, and Batcher while she's gone. Hunter assures Omega the brothers will only be a call away if she ever needs them. Hunter assures Batcher that Omega will be fine, and Omega departs from Pabu, thus bringing this episode, and Bad Batch as a whole, to a satisfying and slightly emotional conclusion.
Wow. What a way to just conclude this whole series. All of the momentum we've been getting from the last few episodes finally just capped off. Series swung and hit the ball. We have a lot going on here. We have the conclusions of multiple character arcs, and just everything really coming together. I was happy to see the Zillow Beast come back. Looks like the creature coming back in Season 2 was set up for the finale. You'll love to see it. Now, CX2, the main shadowy evil clone we've been seeing throughout. I remember the theory that, CX2 is actual tech. Now, I'm glad the writers didn't going with this. CX2 didn't have an identity. He really was just one of these evil clones. Now, Scorch. But let's face it here, a lot of people know about Republic Commando. You have a pre-established character, and people love this character, but then you do nothing with them, basically. Scorch's inclusion in the whole show, and then also his death, it's one of the elements of this show that just confuses me. If you want to include members of Delta Squad, fair enough, I guess, but then, to have any of them show up is to take the snapshot of those characters from that game and basically transplant them. Otherwise, why include them? Because if it's for the fans, well, Scorch doesn't do anything in the show, so who exactly are you appealing to there? But whatever, he's dead, so oh well. We see Hemlock getting killed, which that was satisfying seeing Hunter and Crosshair work together and fucking gun this guy down. I love the fact that the TCW Star Wars shows are never afraid to just get real. Like they don't cut away. We see Hemlock get blasted. Happy endings abound. And now we do what TCW did. Rebels, to some extent, all of that was more montage, but we still cut ahead in time. I like the fact that the epilogue is spent between Omega and Hunter, and Omega joining the rebellion makes total fucking sense. And I do like the fact that Hunter is just content staying on Taboo. His war is over, but the new generation has their own war that they must now fight. I really like seeing that these soldiers or people who fight in wars do have the points where they're just done. They fought the good fight, but now they just want to rest. Now, I'm really curious what they do with Omega since she's a force sensitive clone, but also they've created this grown up character model. Surely, I would imagine they would use that for something, but they created a character model for Vader, and I've only ever really used that once, briefly in Tales of the Empire. So, curious to see if this new model is ever used for anything of substance. Now, I'm really curious on what the next animated show will be, as this was a sequel series to TCW. I'm wondering if the next series we get is a sequel series to this. Perhaps we do get that Ventress spin-off series that perhaps her episode was setting up. But yeah, I do have more to say, but that's for the overall series, so I'll let Luke give his thoughts on the finale.
For my thoughts on the finale, I think this was overall a great way to end. We see Omega prove herself as a full-fledged soldier, or as full-fledged as she could be for how young she was. We also see Crosshair feeling the pressure of Tech not being present. If you remember at the very beginning of this episode, I think Crosshair and Wrecker got into an argument about who was going to take the troopers head-on patrolling the jungle. Crosshair says, "Clone Force 99 died with Tech. We're not that squad anymore." And for a moment he loses all faith, which, considering how far they've managed to come without him, it's surprising that Crosshair of all people would feel the effect, both dynamically and personally, of Tech's demise, especially in that way. We see more of his humane side in that respect. Seeing the Zillo Beast wreak havoc in the containment level, that was satisfying. And to see Emery take the other children away and Echo and Omega free their clone brothers and they're all willing to fight, that's awesome. One of the darkest moments in this whole episode is when the brothers were pinned down by those specialized operatives that Hemlock set free during the attack. The one that pinned down Crosshair made some remark about Crosshair's trembling hand, and I don't think we ever actually get a close-up of the injury, but Crosshair lost that hand to that operative's blade. One little missed opportunity that I think this episode could have had is have at least one scene where we see Crosshair come to terms with that, looking at the amputated limb. But maybe that would have been a bit too graphic, given that this is a continuation of TCW. One thing that I was expecting with Hemlock, but ultimately didn't happen, is I thought we would get at least one scene with him where he snapped and went full on crazy. The fact that he remains so composed in everything he does until this episode, I honestly thought we were building up to a flip of the switch moment where he would abandon being Dr. Jekyll and turn into Mr. Hyde. But no, he died almost as composed as he was for the entire show up to this point.
I mean, I'd say it's one of those things where even when the whole
For me,
world was burning around him, at least he thought he had just the tiniest bit of control. Like he had Omega at gunpoint, so he still had some amount of power that he clung on to. But then, of course, when you're gunned down, you don't really have time to react. So I would say what we have show works because, like, he thinks he still has control up until basically the moment of his death.
Though I will say, it was damn satisfying seeing Crosshair and Hunter work together to land 4 or 5 shots on Hemlock, and then we see him fall down that
yes, Hemlock
chasm,
was definitely one of the characters
or shaft,
that
rather.
You just really want to see die, and then when it happens, it's just so fucking satisfying.
And the embrace between Omega and her brothers after Hunter and Crosshair finally kill Hemlock, that was a beautiful moment. The scene on Pabu, I think that was a long-deserved happy note to bring the main story to an end. And the epilogue, it didn't make me cry, but I think for most people, it gets you.
Yes, I do think that The Bad Batch as a show knew how many seasons and how many episodes needed to tell its story and to get us attached to these characters. It didn't overstay its welcome. It didn't extend its life past its expiration date. We got the story. We got the right amount of screen time with these characters. And so that all gets paid off in this epilogue.
It was nice to know that Crosshair, Wrecker, and even Batcher are all still alive all those years later, given everything the team had been through in the last few episodes of this show alone. Give them some sort of a happy ending.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the whole series was building up to this point, especially when we get to season 2. Now, I forgot to say this in regards to my thoughts. Tarkin is wanting to see that he's all, well, that was a failure. Let's, never do this again. And all resources will Death Star.
Yeah, I was literally just about to go there. He orders that all funding in Project Necromancer be redirected to Project Stardust.
One of the things I've liked about this show was seeing that Tarkin and Hemlock very clearly did not like each other. Like, we had that really great moment early on. I can't remember when this was. I think it was season 3 at some point. But when Tarkin and Hemlock are talking, and Hemlock's like, oh, yes, I have very important things with the Emperor going. And Tarkin is like, oh, well, would you care to explain? And Hemlock's like, oh, it's on me to know. And, well, you don't need to know. Tarkin, you can just see the, seething hatred in that man's face. I think what spurred it was Tarkin mentioning that, oh, a lot of fun going to this project of yours. What the hell is going on?
That was in Identity Crisis, I think.
Regardless, I really liked that scene. Despite the Empire being what we consider this, monolith, there's still, rivalry, bitterness between its members, competition between its members. And Tarkin is very high up in the hierarchy. And having this, scientist, this fucking nobody, not only have information that he doesn't, but is also working closely with the fucking emperor. That's gotta piss him off. You can feel how happy Tarkin is when he's like, yeah, no, this is fucking done. Now, what I'm really curious about is what the fuck did Palpatine think of that? He was the one who was pushing for Project Necromancer, so like, I take it he just decided not to try this again, and the reason he goes to Exegol, I'm guessing, is that he knew trying to do the whole cloning thing with the Empire's money was just not gonna work. So go to Exegol because like surely he would have been slightly peeved at Tarkin just like making this decision. Like I'm sure Palpatine was pissed, but well, either way.
To be fair, I think the cloning machinery on Exegol, having it as a fallback or developing it after the fact, that's probably the only explanation following Project Necromancer's research being completely unsalvageable, according to the officer who speaks with Tarkin in the hangar bay.
And yes, the reason why I'm sure he goes through that whole fucking process and why he's such a decrepit creature in Rise of Skywalker is because all the research, all the progress, destroyed.
I thought it was sad to see Nala Se go, but at the same time, damn satisfying that she had her surprise with the detonator, which killed Rampart thereafter. Rampart was serving no one but himself.
Yeah, Nala Se dying, I didn't see coming, but it does make sense where her character was going.
And by doing that, she ensured that the research died along with them as Kaminoan research, even though Rampart wanted to use it as a bargaining chip to get himself back in with the Empire.
The finale here wrapped up a lot of things, I would say fairly well. So, overall, the series went out with a bang. They swung and hit and home. Solid stuff, and overall was consistently good. And it did have some highs, such as Palpatine's speech on Coruscant, which that sequence. Oh, now I will say this is sort of a tangent, but I think it's appropriate given this is the finale here. I think there was a missed opportunity here. Now, admittedly, I did get this idea from elsewhere, but I think the TCW Bad Batch are definitely serve better proper pilot story within the Bad rather than take up room in TCW Season 7. Because to use the very limited time for the final season of TCW, essentially a backdoor pilot, was a mistake. Not to mention, you could have also finished the Yoda and on Kashyyyk arc. All of the TCW Bad Batch stuff would have been completed. It would have given us more time for Bad Batch before, the galaxy goes to shit. So I do think it's unfortunate that we have what we have, but that tangent aside, overall, really solid series. Happy to have watched it, and I'm really curious to see the next animated project be. Or I should say full series and not just one of the Tales anthologies.
These past 3 years, watching this ragtag clone force on their wild adventures, it's been a crazy ride, and it's been a very long journey covering it. The series started with a bang. It gave us a lot of character development. There were some very memorable moments in it, and it essentially went out the way that it began. It started with essentially a feature film and kind of ended with another feature film, an epic beginning, and it came full circle with an epic end. There is actually one more thing as well. This final episode was called The Cavalry Has Arrived, which, if memory serves, was the first line ever spoken by the Bad Batch when they first appeared in TCW Season 7, spoken by Wrecker to be exact. So the fact that they used that quote for the final episode, I think, is a real icing on the cake sort of thing.
I love things come circle like that.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, we have finally come to the long overdue conclusion of Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 3 and The Bad Batch as a whole. It's been a wild ride and a very long awaited one from a creation standpoint, getting all of these reviews done, but it's finally over. If any of you have still been awaiting these reviews during the long hiatuses, thank you ever so much, and we will see you next time for whatever the next SOSW project is. So until then, this has been Jedi Knight Luke, signing off. Take care, and may the Force be with you.
And this is Captain Henson, signing off.